tub professor. He's the king of repair with his tools and his knowledge. He'll teach you to fix the pipes and heaters, making it brand new.
Hello students, this is the Hot Tub Professor at Hot Tub U, where we teach you to stay in hot water. What we're going to do today is do a retrofit system on this hot tub right here. This hot tub has a Chinese system in it, a Chinese control pack and a Chinese remote plastic heater, and the threads are reversed on this heater, so we're going to have to cut the plumbing, take this out to install this new Balboa remote heater that goes with this box. Now I'm going to show you up close in just a moment the kit that we have to use to make this work in this particular hot tub, and we will have that kit online. If your hot tub does not need that kit, that's fine. You just follow the other procedures. This particular tub actually is going to need a couple of different things. It's also going to need a pump rebuild on a WUA style pump, an LX style pump, and it's also going to need some other plumbing work. So we're going to deal with all that, and I will show you how at Hot Tub U. Stay tuned. So this is an example of the kit that I'm talking about. It has all the components that you need if you have this exact setup that you see that I'm going to be retrofitting. I think these tubs come under the name Dr. Wellness or Water's Edge. Now let's get back to the install. Stay tuned. So let's look at this thing up closer. What you see here is a 2-inch with a sweep and then a heater union. We're going to do this. That's a 2-inch pump union with a sweep and then a heater union that actually glues inside. That'll be a part of a kit. And then on this side you have a heater union, slice valve, manifold with 2 3/4, a 45 street. This right here is what it would take to make all that up. The pipes, you shouldn't have to extend them. The tubing right here, there should be enough length here to glue back to the other manifold, but probably what I'm going to do is turn that manifold this way so those pipes are more out of the way. And we've got to change. The reason we're doing this is because this is opposite of standard, if you will. That's standard, and you can see that the threads in this case are actually on the heater. So you don't have to change your heater unions like this in every case, but in this particular case you are going to have to. Another thing that happened is, look at this pipe right here. You see how it's kind of crushed right there? This was probably in the upright position, the horizontal position when it was built, and over a period of time it sunk down. The problem with that is there's a bolt on the top of this pump right here, and the bolt has actually knocked a hole in the tubing right there in the 2-inch flex pipe. So we're going to have to make a modification there. I'm also going to have to rebuild this pump. That one is a WUA 300, but a WA 100, 150, 200, 300, 400, and 500 are going to be basically the same thing unless you get over into the jacuzzi and Sundance variety, and you see that's a 400. Another thing we're going to have to do is change the cables on these things, because the original cables to the pumps do not have any plugs on. You see they're just actually under these screws. So we're going to have to change the cables, and I will show you how to do all of that. Stay tuned. So the first thing that we have to do before we can do anything, because we're cutting this slice valve out and all of these things, we're going to have to take the water out of the tub. So go ahead and drain your tub, and let's get that part out of the way. Alright, so while the water's draining, I'm going to go ahead and get this pack out of the way, and we're going to examine what we have here exactly. This is very odd stuff. All this Chinese stuff is exactly what I said. It's all Chinese stuff, and when it comes from China, you never know. It's basically non-standard stuff, and what I mean by that is nothing that we would have in normal things is going to fit any of this. So there's this plug on the side that goes to the heater. There's a plug on the side that goes to nothing. You can see right here. There was a plug on the side that goes to a light. And we're going to deal with all of those items. Let's see what this right here is. This is an electrical power plug. I think this hot tub actually has speakers, and so those will be 2 turn-on wires for the speakers. And then right here you've got all of this is just such oddities. So you've got jet 2, which is going to be a 1-speed, which is going to be that furthest pump to our far left. So one of the first things that you need to do when you're doing jobs like this, retrofit type jobs, is you've got to figure out what you have in the hot tub that you've got to hook back up. And you can see it's got 3 wires, black, white, ground. Black and white are both hot if it's a 230 pump, ground is ground. If it's a 115 pump, white's neutral, black is ground, or black is hot, I should say. This right here is going to be jet 2, which is the main pump that runs through the heater, and it is going to be right directly, in this particular case, behind the heater that we're replacing. And this is going to be 4 wires, and you can see that it's black, white, red, ground. Most cases, red is high, black is low, white is neutral, green is ground, but there are cases where black is high and red is low. So you need to know that when you're hooking your pump back up. If you use the cables that would come with the Balboa stuff, you're going to make sure that red is high, black is low, white is neutral. But in that case, when I'm saying white is neutral, white is actually hot, as I mentioned, in the case of a 230 volt pump, and red and black are both hot as well. And the way it works is on low speed it would be red to or low speed would be black, I'm sorry, to white. Both would be 115 volts, which would make 230, and on high speed it would be white and red would both be hot, and that's what gives you 230 in that direction. So these are the heater wires. So basically this thing has 2 appliances and it has a heater, and you can see how that was even overheating in the box, because those are poor connections. That's cheap Chinese crap that is substandard at best. And then this has a ozonator over there. That's what this is going to, the ozone generator. This is not going to be hooked back up in this particular case, because this ozone generator is something odd that they are using. So I'm just going to cut this wire. It's not going to do us any good. We don't need it. And then that should be everything. And we're going to take this box out and see how our box looks going back in. See how it'll fit up in here. I think it's going to fit and look really beautiful. But they use this Chinese stuff in these tubs for a very short time, for a few years. So you may or may not have a tub that has this. If you have one that has something else, that's fine. This will still give you instructions of how to remove it, how to change it all. But this is not normal things. I mean, look at this craziness. They have to pinch those wires in there, and then they would wire nut this. That's not normal stuff. Look at how little those lugs are, and I'll show you how large the lugs are on the Balboa system. Stay tuned. So this is the Balboa system. You see how large those lugs are. They can use up to a 6-gauge wire, which is what you should have with 2 pumps at 240 volts. This is a very high quality system, and this is the good stuff, is what I would call it, and we're going to install it. Stay tuned. So in this particular case, this will come in your remote kit, the feet that go on here. So we're going to stick the feet on. They just slip in from the back, and we're going to fit it before we put the screws in it. It has a screws that will go in there to hold their feet on, but I'm just going to see how it looks. And you can see that looks really nice right there. Now the wires that go to your pump and to your remote pump and to your heater, the wires for the light and your pumps are going to go in on this side. The wire for the heater is going to go in behind and attach right here, and then your main incoming wire is going to go right here. So sliding it over a little bit to give you room for your incoming wire would be better. Now the hard part is if you're doing this kit, you're going to need a longer 1-speed wire to go from the pump that's way over there to over here. The standard 36 inch will go, I think they're 36 or 48 inches. The 2-speed will definitely go from that pump to here, no problem. But the 1-speed that is way over there on that side is going to be a problem. So we're going to have a wire that we extend that with, and they make longer ones, and that's what you're going to need. You may even have to buy a longer 2-speed cable and only use 3 of the cables, not 4. And so in that case you would use white, black, and ground. So in your Balboa remote kit you'll have 2 long screws, relatively long, and they will go right here to hold these feet on. Alright, now the water should be out of the tub, so we're going to cut the plumbing and get the ball rolling. Stay tuned. So what we're going to do first is take these 2 clamps and pull them up. And I want to show you before I do that these tools that I'm showing here, we offer all these in the store. We have the 2-inch cutters, we have the 3/4 cutters, and we also have the oil filter pliers. And we have all of these where you can use this to do your job. You can see these have taken a beating because I've used them for years. But this is what I use on hot tubs and have the whole time that I've ever worked on hot tubs. So stay tuned. I'm going to move you around so you can see me pull the clamps up and cut those. And we're going to lose a little bit of water, but that's okay. Most of the water is out, but there is some water sitting in this, so you're going to have that no matter what you do. So if you're inside, you're going to have to be prepared to deal with that. Have a wet dry vac ready to go. So the regular pliers and stuff like that you can buy from anywhere, I don't offer that kind of stuff in the store. These are just regular old pliers. You can get these anywhere. These I do offer in the store, and they work fantastically, especially if you're in a tight little space like this right here. Now, there's going to be a point where the vast majority of the water runs out and it stops. Alright, so let me move you back around so you can see the rest of the procedure. Stay tuned. Alright, so I'm going to use the oil filter pliers and loosen this pump union because we don't need any of this. This is all going to be trashed. It is no good to us. And I can even use these oil filter pliers here and go ahead and get the heater out of the way. Now I use these, and we're just going to go as close as we can to the glue connection. Alright, so all the old stuff is out of the way, and you can see the configuration. You see what this right here is. It is simply a heater union, which we're going to do the other kind. This is a reverse heater union, slice valve, a manifold with 2 3/4 and a street slip 45, which is going to be remade with that right there. And then on the other side, it is a pump union with a sweep and then a heater union, which is going to be remade a different way. Stay tuned. Alright, next we're going to deal with Jet 1, which is going to be the 2-speed pump. And it has just raggedy edges on it because the old pack that we had did not have a plug on it. The new pack is going to use an amp plug. It's a 4-pin, and it's going to have red, black, white, and green on it. So we're going to take this loose. I'll take the cap off, and we're going to deal with this. You see that there's actually a fitting here for the wire to go in, so we're going to use this place. I'm going to take all this off, and we're going to wire this. I probably won't show you the other pump because they're both very similar. The thing to keep in mind is the placement of the wires in this plug right here. So starting from the bottom, it's ground, neutral. If it's a 1-speed, it's going to skip, and then it's going to be black on the top. if you end up, because it's such a long cable like the one in this particular case, a 96-inch, you're probably going to have to order a 2-speed. So you would actually use green, white, and red, which would be at the top, not the black, which is going to be here. And when you do that, I would just cut the black wire off on the back side where it goes into the pump. But stay tuned, and you need to look at your colors. Now this one's actually covered up, but you can look at your wiring diagram and tell which direction the wires need to go in before you snap them in. Stay tuned. This is a 1/4 inch that holds the cover on most tubs. So due to somebody over tightening, didn't know what they were doing, I had to use vice grips on this thing to get it to break loose, but I got it loose. And so the ground is going to normally be held on with a Phillips bit. Sometimes they're 1/4. In this particular case, this Chinese pump, it is definitely a Phillips bit. And if you look at the top, it's got white, red, and black. Now let's look at your wiring diagram. The wiring diagram shows white, red in the middle is high, black is low. So this is actually correct the way that it is as far as the speeds go. This is low speed, high speed, neutral. So I'm going to pull these off and we're going to install the new wire. And I've added one to my wire. They do not come with this on it, but if you don't have that, you can actually pinch it right there like you saw before. So that's just an example of the 2 different ways that you can make this work. But you want to get this done because once you get the heater in, it's going to be very difficult to access this to be able to install it correctly. And plus I wanted you to be able to see. So black was down here, low speed. White up here, high speed, white neutral, I should say, which is hot on a 230 volt. And then red right here. Now something that you got to be really cognizant of is that you can, especially if it has these little covers on here, you can actually push it up there and you think that you have it connected to the spade, but it is not actually on the spade. So you got to make sure that you get it on the spade, because if you don't, it probably will run for a little while and then you'll start having some intermittent issues with it. So we're going to put this back in. Now we'll put our cover back on, and if you see, it was white, red, black. But don't do yours like this. You may have a different brand pump. You have to look at the wire diagram on the side, and I showed you the wiring diagram, how to read it. All right, you tighten this right here, and this cable is ready, and it will reach the other side of the pack, so that cable is the right length and will work. Now I'm going to get my vacuum and I'm going to clean this little area up here, and we'll start installing the plumbing and stuff. Stay tuned. All right, so I'm going to start making my very first connections here, and you know, actually I'm going to do what I said. I'm going to vacuum this first. Stay tuned.
Hot tub professor, he's the king of repair. With his tools and his knowledge, he'll teach you to fixing pipes and heaters, making it brand new for SpaPartsNet. Woo!
All right, I'm gonna point out something right here. The Yahoo, you remember I said put the back cover on too much? Didn't bother to put any bolts to hold that pump down. So if you were moving this tub and standing it up, that pump could theoretically move around. And you look at how rigid the pipe is to the filter. It could easily move and break that right there, right off. That is a no-no. So I'm going to, before we go any further, put screws in right here. Stay tuned. So the fact that this right here is missing, to me, shows me that the person who did this takes no pride in their work. And ladies and gentlemen, if you don't learn anything else from me, learn that it is important to do a good job, even on things that other people will probably never see. If you were a service tech and you're listening to this, the homeowner's never going to go under there and look to see if bolts are in there. But you don't know how many service techs I fired because I would let them do a job and then I would go behind them a week or two later just to see if they did do things like this, leaving things out. And when I catch them doing this kind of stuff, they're gone. We're done. There ain't nothing else to talk about. If I can't trust you to do something simple like bolting a pump down, especially with the money that people are spending on repairs like that, then I can't trust you in a lot larger stuff than that. And you will not work at my company. All right, in this part of the kit, this is a 2-inch sweep with a slip end on it. So what that means is, it doesn't mean that it's 2-inch. It means that 2-inch pipe glues into this, which would be 2 3/8 outside diameter, 2-inch inside diameter. The pump union for a 2-inch is going to be 3 inches across the thread. So that thread, if you measure across, is right at 3 inches. So the first thing we're going to do is hand install this. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to install here is we're going to start at the pump and work our way back because the pump is stationary. We can't move it where it's at. So we're going to do, in the kit, will be a 2-inch slip by 2-inch pump union sweep. You see that right there? It's made together. Made like that, 2-inch by 2-inch. That measures 3 inches across the threads. That measures 2 3/8 inside diameter. 2-inch flex pipe or 2-inch hard pipe measures 2 3/8 OD, 2-inch ID. So if you measure across these threads on this particular pump, because it's a 2-inch by 2-inch, it'll measure about 3 inches across that. So we're going to put this in first, and we're dealing with this upright that we've got to get by. So now I've got a piece of pipe. It'll come with the 6-inch piece of pipe, but I cut it off because the pump is going to, the heater's going to stick out a little bit, and I want to make sure we have enough distance here. So I'm going to go ahead and glue this in, and we're going to then glue the heater union. The heater union is 2-inch slip by 2-inch heater union. This is called a tailpiece. Measures 3 inches across the threads, which is the inside diameter of the split nuts that are on a standard 2-inch heater. So we're going to do the same thing here. Blue glue inside, blue glue the pipe, and as I mentioned, I don't do purple prime on new to new, only old to new. We'll put that on there and turn it, and eventually it will stop. There we go, that's nice. Now let's bring our heater in, put the new gasket on there. Let's get our heater and get it ready. All right, the heater doesn't weigh very much, so I'm gonna go ahead and put it up here, and what I'm gonna do is press right here, and I'm going to thread this split nut on with my fingers just to kind of bump it up and see where it's going to try to put the heater. You see it's going to try to put it there. And this pipe is going to give it a little bit of flex. Now, one of the things that you can do is cut a piece of wood to go under here to build it up so it is not hanging, and I will definitely do that. And probably what I'll do is just put a piece across here and put a couple of screws in it here, build it up just on top of that, because I'm running cables and stuff behind it. And the main thing is you just want it to be in the correct place. So now I'm going to move the camera over and we'll start plumbing from here back to the pipe that we cut off. Stay tuned. So we'll set it up like that. And remember the direction that it was. It had a slice valve, which is this right here. And the slice valve doesn't have to go up, it can go like that. So that's what I'm going to do with this one, is make it, actually I may even go, I'm gonna do like this right here because I want to make sure that we have enough room. So let's go ahead and glue it. Move it a couple times, then we can open the slice. And I'm gonna put it right there. And remember, our manifold was like that, but I'm going to do it like this, so we definitely have enough hose for that. And so let's get it glued in. So these pipes that glue to that, one of them is here and one of them is over there. So I'm gonna actually go ahead and glue these two. Yeah. Now these are going to require a little bit of heat, so let me get my heat gun. Stay tuned. All right, well, if you will heat tubing, clear tubing like this right here, it will really cooperate. And just keep in mind now that the glue is very flammable, so don't blow yourself up with the glue. And you can see that when I heat it, it's very pliable. So what I'm going to do is take that blue glue, just put a little bit on this bottom barb, and slip it right on there. And I'm going to do the same thing on the top barb, heat it just a little, turn my clamp. Go. All right, now I'm going to put my clamps in place. All right, now we're going to make this last connection of the 45. I'm going to put it on here first because I've got to spin it to win it. Remember, we've got to turn it, and then I'm going to line it up where I can make this connection, and we're home free. So for that, we're going to need a little purple primer. And look, purple primer is very messy. Not my favorite thing. Very, 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 very messy. It gets all over everything. So if you're working on something that you are worried about primer getting on, it's so slick it won't stay in the can hardly. And I'm not exaggerating that. That's the true story. Now we're going to bring our glue over. And always remember to spin it to win it. If you don't spin it, it is going to drip. New to old. New to new, no problem. But old to new, you better spin it if you want to win it. All right, we're going to do that right there. Now we're going to make our last connection. And that's going to give us some room to, once I get this up, the pipe will no longer be on the pump like it was before, vibrating and getting too hot and getting damaged. So that is going to be eliminated by the way that this has been done.
Hot tub professor, he's the king of repair. With his tools and his knowledge, he'll teach you to fixing pipes and heaters, making it brand new for SpaPartsNet. Ooh. For SpaPartsNet.
All right, so now I have my Jet 1 cable, or Jet 2 cable that's a 3-speed. I've got it over here. I've got my Jet 1 cable, which is a 2-speed, which will have 4 wires. I've got it over here, and I have my heater cable. I'm going to hook the heater cable up first because that's the one that I'm going to have to take this back cover, flip it over, and feed it through. So we're going to do that right now. So all you would do in that case is just simply remove these 4 screws right here on the back of the pack. Take that off, and you can see that there's a hole in there. Now we're going to take this little auxiliary board out. Make room to get to the heater connections. Let's move that over, and we're going to feed the heater wire through. This screw out, and you see that there's 2 screws right here. It says heater 1, heater 2. I, as a general rule, do the black wire on one. It does not matter. There's no polarity on a 230 volt heater, or even really a 110 heater. A heater's a heater. You could have ground or neutral on one side and power on the other side, or in this case 220 power and power. Make sure you get them really tight, because a loose connection will damage things. It will burn elements. It'll do all kinds of things that will damage the controls or the heater element itself. A lot of times it'll burn this connection off of the board. So you see you got black and white right there, and now we got ground, which is right here. And the ground, there is a hole right here in the side of the box, so you're going to loosen this second lug up right here that's a flat screwdriver fitting. And you're going to stick the ground right into there and tighten it back up. There you go. Now you will flip it back over, and we're going to make the cable go this way. And what you can do is kind of double it over to get everything in there, and then flip this cover over to hold it into place. And the cover, actually, I'm going to turn it around. It's got 2 screws that are closer to the edge than the other, so to get it right, you're going to make sure you look at it. I had it backwards, had a 50-50 chance and lost. How many times have you ever done that? Okay, that connection is good. Now we're going to stuff these back up in here and put the little board back in place. This is your expander board, and this is going to be Jet 2, by the way. And if you happen to have a 2-speed Jet 2, there's solutions for that. So call our guys, and they will try to help you through the answer to those solutions. All right, to get your pump cables in place, let me double check these. You're going to have to take these loose so you have enough room to get all of your cables in the box. And you know, the reality is I'm putting the box over here. It doesn't have to be here. You could put the box over there on that other side where pump 2 is. You could put it on either side. In this particular case, I'm just trying not to complicate any of these things so you can understand how easy all of this is to do. So this is going to be Jet 1, which is the 2-speed. So we're going to take our cables and run it back here. Push that cable down, and we're going to stick it in here, and right there it actually says pump 1, circulation, ozone, audio video. That's Jet 2. So we're going to plug this into pump 1. That's the 2-speed. And so then you could feed it into that little slot right there, and it can stay there forever. Now this is the 96-inch cable that we ran from Jet 2, which is a 1-speed in this particular case. And it can go through the very bottom, and it will plug into right here. So that's going to be your Jet 2. Now, some other things that you have over here on the heater, you have M7 cables. These are your temp sensors, and the way these systems work is it's going to push water through this heater between these 2 sensors, and it's looking for a 3-degree temperature raise between these 2 sensors. The downside to this system is if you have a circulation pump and there's not a lot of water going across these 2 sensors, This system is going to give you some low flow codes, OH codes, that kind of stuff theoretically. So there's cases where a pressure switch system is actually better than this system, but this system is more reliable than the pressure switch system in my opinion. So these two sensors have to be hooked up into the board, and so we're going to run both of these and get them over to the board. All right, now that we've got our cables pulled, you can see this cable can go around the box, but it still will not reach. This cable will not even go around the box. So both of these are going to have to be fed through here from the heater side, or the heater cable is. And I make videos where when I'm doing stuff on the fly, and I do that because I want you to be able to see. This would have been much better if I would have done all this before I put this cover on. But I want you to see the things that you can run into. If I make every one of these videos where they're just perfection on an install, you're never going to learn anything. I'm never going to learn anything. I need to know the things that people can run into installing this, so when I'm advising someone, or my guys are advising someone, they can say, hey, you need to look out for this. You need to look out for the position of the box as opposed to the cables where they're going to be. Because it's going to matter. Now the polarity of these doesn't matter as far as one, there's two plugs right here just to the right of this aux board. It doesn't matter which position that you put these two in, either position will work. Because what happens is when you fire this thing up and it is going through its mode, it is actually going to go through a mode where it's determining which direction the water's moving, because it can move either direction. So the location of these plugs, which one it is plugged into, doesn't matter at all. Alright, so you see that they are plugged in right here. Sensor A, sensor B. Pump 2, pump 1. The light will go here, the top side will go here. So before I install the top side, I'm going to go ahead and fill this tub up. I'm going to hook my top side up, run the tub, make sure there's no leaks and stuff, and then we'll go to installing this top side. Stay tuned. The buttons, as some would call it. Stay tuned. Alright, so I'm going to start watering this. While that's going, we're going to look for leaks while it is filling up to make sure there's no leaks that we have to deal with. While that's happening, I'm going to get the top side out. So when I'm talking about top side, this is what I'm talking about. These are the buttons, and it has a Molex style 4-pin plug. So we're going to plug that into the board, bottom right. I'm also going to hook up power. Leaks look good. No leaks so far. Now the way I'm doing this is not the way you would do it in the field. In the field, you would put these in from your house breaker. Here, we have jumpers, so I'm using actually a dryer plug. It'll be white, black, red, unless it's 120 volt. This 120 volt system, that is going to show that it is black and white here and ground here. And remember, you have to move the jumper. I'll show you real quick how to move the jumper to make it 115. Critical when you're doing this repair. All right, to do this conversion, the first thing that you would do is take this shunt right here is to your, if you're standing looking at the board, it would be to the left of the transformer. And you will grab it with the pair needle nose, of course power down, no power on, and put that shunt there. You'll take the shunt that you found on the back of the pack and you will put that shunt right here. You will remove this fuse. I'm not going to do it, this is just for a demonstration, and replace it with the fuse that you got on the back of the pack with the other shunt. The other thing you're going to move is there's a wire that goes all the way to the far side over here where it says AV. It's J38. So if you'll trace that wire, it comes over here and it is plugged on J8. You're going to unplug it from J8 and move it down to J88, which is going to have a 3 beside it. So basically what you're doing by doing this is you're converting the white leg, the neutral leg, and the red leg, you're hooking them together. So that way the heater has ground and neutral, and the white has ground or neutral, and then black. This would be the configuration if you're doing a 115 setup. If you're doing a 220 setup, you would go back to the way that this was. You would keep this over here on J8, which hooks the neutral wire to all of these incoming powers over here. And you would remove this shunt. You would take the single shunt and put it back in the center. But in order for this to work, you have to have both shunts in. One shunt will not work. All right, so I have it full of water, and we are going to fire her up. I haven't screwed the box down yet because I'm not ready. If you watch, it's going to go through testing 230. It goes through all the different things just to verify. Now it says run. And when it says run pumps, you can hit jet. So right here, once you hit the temp button, it takes it out of the purge setting and it goes to temp, and you saw it was 85, so I set it up to 100. And what it's going to do is go through some systems, go through some different things. You'll see it turn the heat on. It does it for around 8 seconds. And what that is learning the direction that the water's moving between those two sensors, as I mentioned earlier. And then it will calibrate, and then it will start to heat. So we will watch, and you also can listen. There it goes. You hear the heater. It just came on. You hear the relay click. About 8 seconds, it'll turn off. There it goes. When it's flashing, it's back off. Now it's calibrating. Once it calibrates, then it will come on and start heating. And we'll check the light while we're waiting. And I installed that light, and it works. See it right over there? So with the light flashing like that, it is in its calibration mode, getting ready to heat. And when it comes back on solid, it has turned the heater on, and you are on your way to being in some hot water. Because you know, the hot tub professor's job is to keep you students in hot water. All right, now you see the heater came on, the light is solid, the heater is on, and it is 71 right now. This with a 4 kW heater is gonna heat about 4 degrees an hour, roughly. When it's warmer outside, it'll heat more than that. When it's cold outside, it'll heat about that. So we're gonna let her heat up. Next, we'll mount this top side and finish this job. Stay tuned. So you see that the heat light is flashing and is showing 3.2 amps, which is Jet 1 low speed. When the heat light quits flashing after a calibration session, it will, you see it's already heated 1 degree, it will come back on. I disturbed it because I turned the pumps off and on a couple of different times. And so I put it back into a calibration cycle just for a moment. You can see it's, there we go. So the heater just came on and you see it's solid. You see it shows 18 amps, which is about right. 14.5 to 15 amps is about right for a 4 kW heater. And the way I test that is you wrap it around the black or the red incoming if it's 230. If it's 115, you wrap it around the black wire. And that's how you do it. Or if you could get to these heater wires, you could wrap it around those, but you can't get to them in this particular case. So she is heating up. All right, students, it is the next day. And you see the tub is dry. And it is also hot. I will show you. And I'm getting ready to install the top side. You see it's up to 101 right there. So this is a completed installation, except for I've got to install the top side. So we're going to undo the old top side, take it out, and then we'll install the new top side. Stay tuned. So this is what the top side looks like under the tub, and this right here is what it looks like on top of the tub. We're going to get it out of there. There we go. You see it was really not siliconed in very well. So now we'll take our other top side and see what we've got to do. It comes with a blackout plate in case the hole is too big, which I think this one is. So stay tuned, we'll take a look at it. All right, we're just going to feed this through. Junk. And you can clearly see that there's a large difference between those two top sides, so that is not going to fit in that hole, it's going to fall through. So we'll have to use our blackout plate. So we're going to get a plan about the blackout plate. Stay tuned. Alright, so right here you see it comes with a blackout plate. This pack does. So this blackout plate, we're going to clean this up. And what you want to do is get your old silicone off. If there's silicone, if there's a sticker like this sticker that was on the back of your top side, you want to get all of that off, because you want to clean it up so it does adhere. And you can also trim this blackout plate. Now what we normally do, I don't think I'm going to have to trim it for this one. What we would normally do is I would take it and either cut it by hand and use a belt sander to smooth the edges, or cut it with a bandsaw and then use a belt sander to smooth the edges. But you could use several different things to accomplish the look that you want it to have. And I've even used the old top side before. I've taken the top side and cut a hole big enough for the top side, the new top side, to fit in, and just used it as the reference. If you go back, you can find some videos of that maybe. But you just want to get it nice and clean, because you want this to stick. And you can also use silicone as well. The problem with silicone is it'll push out, and when it bubbles out around the top side or the blackout plate, it's hard to make it smooth. Now what you could do, if you do get silicone to push out, wet your finger and use your finger to smooth it. It just doesn't work great. So what I'm going to do is, let's look at this and see. It'll fit there, but you see that there's, to make it flat, it sticks off here and it sticks off here. So I'm going to take this to the belt sander and knock these two edges down right here. If you don't have a belt sander, just use you could use a knife, actually, just don't cut yourself, and keep trimming, and you can knock that edge off of there. I'm going to get something and mark this, adjust the shape of this, and then we'll install it. Stay tuned. And you can see that it is a rectangle. So the way I'm going to do this is I'm going to push it out actually a little further than I'm probably going to install it. That way when I come here and I put my mark under, my mark will be further back, and if I reach the mark and adjust it like that, then it will fit and be beautiful. You can see those two marks. Now I'm going to go trim them down. Stay tuned. Alright, so I trimmed it down, and what I did was use the hacksaw to cut the biggest part of it off, and then I just used the belt sander to trim it and just kind of even it, if you will. Alright, so what we're going to do is peel the 3M sticker off. This is nice and clean and dry. And we're going to stick this down on here, just like that right there. And then we're going to put the top side in. Now I like to have the top side facing me when I'm outside the tub, but there's some companies that go the other way. They actually have the top side going in, facing in, so when you're using it in the hot tub, you can see it. But for me, most of the time when I'm using the top side, I'm outside of the tub when I'm looking at it, other than just reaching and touching, turning a pump on. So you do the same thing here on the top side. I'm going to get my knife out. You peel the little sticker off the back, the little red part, and you'll see different colors. It used to be a tan color. So you peel this off of the sticker. I'll just tear it off. And you can see that it's got adhesive on the back, and you turn it the direction you want it to go and slide it down in the blackout plate and push it in, and voila, this part's taken care of. Now I'm going to go do the final things that I have left on this. Make sure that I have bonded grounds from both pumps and from the heater to the pack. I'm going to screw the pack down, and then we're done, other than putting the tub back together, which you won't be seeing. I'm just showing you the installation. So thank you so much for watching. So that is a properly installed topside. So now I'm going to complete this part of the installation. You have, up at the top, you have just jet 1 that's going to go under the holder at the top. And you see that there's also space takers right there. So you want to have a space taker at a location if there's no wire there, so it's not going at too deep of an angle. And on the bottom one, there's 3 space takers, and I have 3 wires. So in this particular case, we have jet 1, we have jet 2, we have a light, and we have a top side. So there's 3 spots. The other things that you would have in here that I will be hooking up, by the way, is audio video, which is going to go right there. And in this particular case, I'll show you how to do that, but that's going to be a different video. Because it's not, most of the time that's not going to happen, and I don't want to bore you with that. So right here you have a jet pump down at the bottom, pump 2, and then you have your top side and you have your light. And don't over tighten this. You can crush the pump wire. It'd be hard to crush, but you can crush your top side wire. So just snug them. What you want is them not to move. That's what you're trying to accomplish right there. And there you go, that part is complete. You got to make sure when you're screwing into the floor of your hot tub that you're not going through. Make sure that there's something down there that you can attach to. There we go. Alright, so right here we have the connection from jet 1, jet 2, and this green wire is the connection to the heater. I'll show you that. Now we're going to stick the front cover on, and I wanted to point out again, if you didn't watch the main video, the kind of the knowledge video about this. Inside the front cover you have a wiring diagram that shows you where things go. It shows you all the things that I told you about. To install it, you stick it down at the bottom first. It's kind of like hinged at the bottom, and then you just push it closed and thread it in. Just like that. And there's 3 on this particular pack. There's 3 screws across the top and a little hinge at the bottom. That seals the pack up, and that is a completed installation of a BPBEE remote heater pack. There's the ground right there going to the heater. You see it runs to there, and that's an additional ground. There's a ground there, but that's your added ground. There's your ground on your heater, and you see it goes over there to that cluster of grounds on the side of the pack. Make sure you bond the heater and pumps. If you have a blower, there's a ground in there. There's no way to bond the blower extra, but this is a completed job along with the top side. So students, I hope you learned a whole lot from this job. This is a very difficult tub to retrofit because there's so many odd things in this tub, but not impossible. If you have this kind of tub, this shows you exactly what you need to do to get your hot tub up to the next level, if you will. If your hot tub is not like this, if it doesn't have the remote heater, then what you would choose is the style of BPBEE pack that has the heater made into the bottom of it. If yours has the remote heater, you choose the style, of course, that has the remote heater. This is a very simple system, a very simple pack, a very trustworthy, long-lasting pack. These are great high-end electronics, the best in the world in my opinion. And you can find them right here at SpaPartsNet. Make sure that you remember if your cables are longer, you got to buy extra cables. If you have the old style cables that are not amp style, you've got to buy cables. It does not come with a bulb, so you're going to need a bulb, but you may already have a bulb that you could just reuse. So there's all kinds of things that you have to think about when you're choosing this system and when you're ordering. If you don't get it right the first time, if you don't get everything you need, of course you can come right back to SpaPartsNet.com and order again, add on. We'll get that stuff right out. We ship as quickly as possible. Thank you so much for watching, and my job is to teach you how to stay in hot water. I'm the Hot Tub Professor. Bye today. All right, let's see what we have here with this light. You can see that they have wrapped a speaker wire around the light, which is not normal stuff. And I think we're going to find an LED light in here, which this system is not going to operate. So we're going to have to figure out how to make a regular light work in this particular case. So we're going to unhook this, and you see it's an LED light, which is from the previous system that has this kind of plug. That will not work with any of our new stuff. So what we're going to do is take this housing and adapt it to the light plug that we have that comes with the kit. It's going to take a little bit of work, but this is very unusual, but this particular brand used this along with that crazy gray box. So if you've got the crazy gray box, you got to do what I'm getting ready to show you. Stay tuned. All right, one of the things that you're going to be faced with as we're talking about the light is this comes with the kit. It has the traditional 12 volt, what we would call a wedge type bulb, or a 912 type, that just simply pushes in there like a wedge. This comes with the kit. You have to choose either this bulb or you have to choose something like an LED bulb. The problem with this LED bulb, and keep in mind that there's different sizes, the problem with these is they keep changing them, or I'll buy them, make pictures, make videos, and sell 20 of them, and then they'll go obsolete and I can't get them again. So I'm getting tired of doing that, but look, it will not fit in that housing. But this will fit in that housing right here. So if you had this light, the bulb inside there, it would go right there. It would be just about right. So I'm going to modify this to fit this, and that will solve this problem. And you could even make it a circle and just simply silicone this into it. It doesn't have to be perfect. You just want it to be able to plug back in and stay in and be a light for your hot tub. But this is a very unusual light. Most of the time your tub will come with a socket that this will fit right in, or your old control will have this with a different kind of plug, or even this kind of plug. If it has this kind of plug, then you don't even have to change the cable, just keep it. But if it has a different kind of plug, especially the pumps, you're going to have to buy the additional cables so all of this will work. So we're going to modify this to work. Stay tuned. So first, let's get the screws out of this. Get it out of this housing. You can actually turn this with a pair of pliers. Take it out. Need a regular pair. Well, no, that's going to grab. There we go. Oh, well, it just crumbled. Look at that. So I'm going to have to come up with plan B. All right, so part of being a repair person, a person that works on things and does things, you've got to be able to think outside of the box. So you saw that thing crumble. So I measured this, and it's just a hair less than 1 3/4, and a 1 inch cap will go right up in there. So what I'm going to do is drill the back out where this will fit into the back. This will fit in the back. Then silicone it in there on both counts. And that will solve our light problem. There you go. Just a 1-inch cap. Just a 1-inch cap will do it. Okay, so I'm going to drill a pilot hole in the middle. Then I'm going to change to a 1/2-inch bit. The width of the part around the socket is about 5/8. All right, so the hole that I drilled was about a 1/2 inch right there. So let's see how this looks. I've got to take the bulb out because it's bigger than the hole. And you can see that it would fit up in there, and that would glue in right there. So that's one way that you could do it. I think we need to go a little bit wider, so I'm going to wallow this out to 5/8. Stay tuned. All right, so I have it wallowed out where this will fit up in there. Pretty good, actually. Pretty good fit. But I'm going to silicone it. I'm going to stick it in there like that. Put a little silicone around the outside edge of it and let it dry. And once it dries, it will make a nice holder for your light. So there you go. If you ever have to change the bulb, all you have to do is mess with the silicone around this. Don't put a bunch around it. But we're going to make this thing run and make the light work before we install it. Stay tuned. We're about to do this. We're about to fire this thing up. Stay tuned.
Hot tub professor, he's the king of repair. With his tools and his knowledge, he'll teach you to fixing pipes and heaters, making it brand new. For SpaPartsNet, woo.
Hot tub professor, he's the king of repair. With his tools and his knowledge, he'll be right there, fixing pipes and heaters, making it brand new. In no time at all, a hot tub's like glue.